then certainly we would make some progress on the path of bhakti. Bhakti is coming down from Krishna through his pure devotees. Bhakti is not a mundane affair. Bhakti is not some mundane endeavor. Bhakti is a divine process which is passed down all the way from the spiritual sky. So for us to become eligible to practice bhakti, we must be ready to take guidance, to take instructions from superior authority.
No, say,
So following in the footprints, following in the footsteps.
put up for internet.
I think, please, we should meet ourselves if we are not speaking, if you're not reading. But we are not.
Internet. Now one person say me could make everything.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Okay, it's done. Okay, Hare Krishna.
I was wondering where it's coming from. Okay, so so here it says that even if one cannot follow all the principles of bhakti, like we have the 9 processes, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, those 9 principles, 9 angas of bhakti. If one is not able to follow all, but if one follows one very, very seriously, he can also attain perfection. I think along the line we will come across a number of devotees who executed just one of these principles very seriously, and they attained perfection. Because Ambarish Maharaj, he executed all of them. So here is mentioned, if we are engaged in execution of all the items of devotional service, as was Ambarish Maharaj, then the professional devotional service is guaranteed. But even if we cannot execute all the 9 processes of bhakti, as Maharaj Ambarish did, if we can just execute one of them perfectly, then perfection is guaranteed. But it has to be done by following the footsteps of the previous acharyas. It says, it says, a devotee does not need to practice anything but Krishna consciousness. All the good qualities of the devatas automatically develop in such a devotee. So by following the footsteps, the examples set by the previous acharyas, one can develop all the good qualities that are necessary for progress on the path of Krishna consciousness. So this following the footprints, following the example of the previous acharyas, following the path laid down by the Mahajans, the great authorities, the great teachers. That is the process of making progress in Krishna consciousness. Without following the path set by the great authorities, one cannot make substantial advancement on the path. So therefore, here, Rupa Goswami is recommending that we follow the path set by the great teachers of the past, set by the spiritual authorities, and by such following, by such attitude, then one can make tangible progress without a doubt. So following the path of the great acharyas is of great importance for a sadhaka. In other words, we should not act whimsically. We should not follow our mind, because the mind is still conditioned, still under the influence of the three modes of material nature. And so we cannot depend on such a mind. And one is able to do that, then one becomes free from material contamination. One becomes eligible to become a great devotee of the Lord. And at that point, liberation becomes a maidservant. The Gyanis and impersonalists, Mayavadis, their goal is moksha, liberation. But a devotee does not even desire liberation. A devotee simply desires to be a servant of Krishna. And just by becoming a good servant of Krishna, liberation becomes a maidservant. Liberation stands at the doorstep, waiting to render service to the devotee. So, following the footsteps of great acharyas, one becomes a great devotee. And when one becomes a devotee, liberation becomes a maidservant. So that is the power of bhakti. By the process of bhakti, liberation becomes a maidservant. Even though people are working very hard, performing all kinds of austerities in order to become liberated, so much tapasya people are performing to become liberated. But if one follows the footsteps of the great acharyas, one takes instructions of the great acharyas and execute them, he becomes so qualified that liberation becomes a maidservant. Next slide. Somebody can read this.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
The process is so powerful that if anyone follows even a single one of them, he can achieve perfection. Srila Rupa Goswami affirms herein that there are 9 different kinds of devotional service, which are listed as hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshiping the deity in the temple, praying, carrying out orders, serving Krishna as a friend, and sacrificing everything for him. Each and every one of these processes is so powerful that if anyone follows even a single one of them, he can achieve the desired perfection without fail. For example, if one is attached simply to hearing about the Lord and another is attached to chanting the glories of the name, both will achieve their desired goal in devotional service. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
So, there are 9 angas. 9 angas of bhakti, which are listed here. Beginning with Shravana. Shravana means hearing. Then Kirtanam means chanting. Vishnu Smaranam means remembering. Dasya means serving. Archanam means worshipping the deity in the temple. Vandanam means praying. And then Atma Nivedanam, surrendering everything to Krishna, becoming Krishna's friend, carrying out Krishna's orders. If one of these processes is executed seriously, one can achieve the desired perfection without fail. So that is the instruction here. Of course, Srila Prabhupada has given us the process of hearing, the process of chanting, the process of remembering, the process of worshiping, and the process of serving, and even the process of complete surrender, Atma Nivedanam. So Prabhupada has given us actually all the processes. You can find all the 9 angas in Krishna consciousness. And at least we are following a number of them. If you live in a temple, you have to follow a number of them. You chant, you hear, you remember, you worship the deity, you render services, and you try to surrender your life to Krishna. So we are executing a number of them, at least 4, 5, 6 of them. But then it is even mentioned here that if one just execute one of them very seriously, one can also achieve the desired results. And I think the next slide gives us a description of how various devotees attain perfection by practicing or executing one of these principles. Examples of devotees attaining perfection by engaging in various aspects of devotional service. King Parikshit achieved the desired goal of life simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Parikshit Maharaj was cursed to die in 7 days. And he simply went to the banks of the Ganga, the Ganges, and sat there in preparation to leave his body. And therefore he desired that some elevated personality should come and narrate to him the pastimes of the Lord. This is the Charita Shravanam. Hear the pastimes, the activities of the Lord. And Sukadeva Goswami appeared there and fulfilled his desire just by sitting there and hearing for 7 days and 7 nights. Parikshit Maharaj achieved perfection. Parikshit Maharaj went back home, back to Godhead, just within a period of 1 week, hearing day and night. And Shukadeva Goswami, because he has to speak to enlighten his disciple Parikshit Maharaj. So as Parikshit Maharaj was hearing from Shukadeva Goswami was speaking. So both of them benefited. Parikshit Maharaj benefited from hearing, and Shukadeva Goswami benefited from speaking. Prahlad Maharaj became successful in his devotional service by always remembering the Lord. We all know how much trouble Parikshit Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj went through with his father. His father was a big time demon. He was the king of the demons. And he would not allow Prahlad to do anything. So the only way for Prahlad was to constantly remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Constantly. He constantly thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To think of the Supreme Lord means to remember. And so Prahlad Maharaj became successful simply by remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lakshmi Ji, the goddess of fortune, she is successful by engaging herself in massaging the lotus feet of the Lord. This Dasya Ras, service, rendering service by massaging the lotus feet of the Lord. King Prithu became successful by worshipping in the temple. Prithu is a Satyavesh incarnation, empowered incarnation of the Lord. He became successful simply by worshipping in the temple. Akura became successful by offering prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hanuman became successful by rendering personal service to Lord Ramachandra. Arjuna became successful by being a friend of Krishna. And Bali Maharaj became successful simply by offering all of his possessions to Krishna. Atma Nivedanam. Bali Maharaj offered everything, including his head, including his body, including his life. Everything was offered to Krishna. And Krishna very much appreciated Bali Maharaj's level of surrender. So therefore, the Lord, even though Bali Maharaj was pushed down to Sutala, but the Lord became his gatekeeper. The Lord became his protector. The Lord is standing, even till today, it is said that the Lord is standing at the gate of Bali Maharaj with a club as a security officer, because Bali Maharaj surrendered everything, including his body, his life, everything he surrendered. And so the Lord has to reciprocate with such surrender. And so the Lord is reciprocating with Bali Maharaj by becoming his security, his gatekeeper. That's very interesting. Even Krishna, the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Authority, the Supreme Creator, he reciprocates with his devotees in such a way that is amazing. Just because the devotees have become such wonderful servants. Because Bali Maharaj surrendered everything to Krishna, Vamana Dev, the Lord accepted to become his gatekeeper. And because the Pandavas, they were so surrendered to Krishna, Krishna accepted to also become their guard at night when they're sleeping. Krishna will stand at the gate with a club, making sure that nobody disturbs the Pandavas. And not only that, Krishna also went to Hastinapur as a messenger And then in the Battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna became the driver, the chariot driver of Arjuna. So it's interesting that Krishna, because of the devotion of his devotees, because of the love of his devotees, Krishna takes a very subordinate position. So we can see the power of bhakti, that because these devotees demonstrated high levels of bhakti, Krishna was purchased. Krishna takes a subordinate position. So sometimes people are asking questions. What is the benefit of bhakti? People are doubting whether if one becomes a pure devotee, if one becomes serious in devotional service, whether there's any benefit. I've heard this a number of times from devotees. What is the benefit of taking to the process of Krishna consciousness very seriously? The benefit is here. Krishna becomes subservient. Krishna takes a subordinate position to a devotee. Krishna becomes a servant to his devotee. And the examples are there. So, here, we can see that there is great benefit in serving Krishna. Sri Vishnu Shravane Parikit Atavat. Parikit Maharaj, simply by hearing about the Lord, became perfect. Vayasaki Kirtane, Shukadeva Goswami, just by reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, became perfect. Pralada Vishnu Smarane, just by remembering the Supreme Lord, Prahlad became perfect. Tat Angri Bhajane Lakshmi, Mara Lakshmi, simply by massaging the lotus feet of Krishna, of Vishnu, she attained perfection. Pritu Pujane, Pritu Maharaj, simply by worshipping the deity in the temple, he became perfect. Akuras to Abhivandane, Sri Akura, just by offering prayers to the Lord, he became perfect. Kapi Patir Dasyeta, Hanuman, by rendering personal service to Lord Ram, he became perfect. Sakya Arjunaha, Arjuna, by being a friend to Krishna, he became perfect. Sarva Atma Nivedana Bali Ahur, Krishnaptir Isampara. Bali Maharaj, by dedicating everything to the lotus feet of Krishna, he became perfect. He did not only become perfect, but he won the heart of Krishna. He won the heart of Vamanadev. And Vamanadev became attached to Bali Maharaj. That till today, Vamanadev is standing at the gate of Bali Maharaj as a security officer. It is said that Ravana, when Lord Ramachandra was planning to attack Lanka, Ravana was looking for allies. He was looking for people who could support him to fight Ramachandra. So Ravana went to Sutala, the kingdom of Bali Maharaj, to seek his support. So when Bali Maharaj arrived at the gate in Sutala, he did not take permission. He saw Vamanadev, a short Brahmana, standing at the gate. And Ravana, is, as a demon, is always proud, very puffed up. He did not seek permission from the gatekeeper. He wanted to enter Sutala by force. And immediately, Vamana Dev threw Bali Maharaj over a number of yojanas. One yojana is about 8 miles. So Bali Maharaj was strong, what is it? Ravana was thrown miles away by Vamana Dev, who is acting as a security of Bali Maharaj. So when Ravana woke up from where he landed, he realized that the short boy at the gate is more powerful than him. And he has to take permission from him before he can enter the palace of Bali Maharaj. So when he went back, he actually begged that, please, I'm here to see my friend. Will you allow me to enter and see Bali Maharaj? And Brahman said, yes. Now you are observing etiquette. You are showing some respect. I'll allow you to go and see Bali Maharaj. But when you came first, you were carried away by your false ego. You were thinking you are so important. You were thinking you are so great that nobody matters. That's when I wanted to demonstrate to you that you are not the greatest. Somebody is beyond you. Somebody is greater than you. So like that. So by surrendering everything to Krishna, by becoming a pure devotee, one actually endears oneself to Krishna. And Krishna reciprocates with such a devotee. Krishna accepts to become subservient to the devotee. Parikshit Maharaj, when he heard about the devotional service of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai, how Krishna used to carry Nanda Maharaj's shoes for his father, and how Yashoda bound Krishna with a rope, how Krishna was running away from his mother out of fear. Parikshit Maharaj was surprised. He said, what kind of devotion has these personalities cultivated, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, that they control the Supreme Personality of Godhead? It's amazing. Nandakim Akarot Brahma. Yes, Yashoda Ahobhagya. That what did Nanda Maharaj, what kind of pious activities, what kind of spiritual credits did Nanda Maharaj and his wife Yashoda accumulate or accrue that Krishna became subservient to them? That was the question Parikshit Maharaj placed before his guru, Shukadeva Goswami. Surabhave Skanda Avahana. That Surabhava means pure devotion. Surabhava, Surabhakti. That because of pure devotion performed by these two personalities, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, because of their pure devotional service, they conquered Krishna. They conquered the unconquerable. Krishna is called Ajita. He cannot be conquered. But devotees are so powerful that by their devotional service, they can conquer Krishna. So that is the supreme result, the supreme benefit of becoming a Kinchana Bhakta. A Kinchana Bhakta means We don't have any other desire in our hearts, in our minds, except serving Krishna, except satisfying Krishna. As soon as we cultivate this habit, this desire of not wanting anything else except serving Krishna, we become Akinchana Bhaktas. And only Akinchana Bhaktas, they can control the Lord. The Lord agrees to become subservient. So, just by the perfection of one of these angas of bhakti, one can conquer the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is unconquerable. Ambarish Maharaj discharged all the different items together and attained perfection. Unlike the other devotees who executed one principle each, Ambarish Maharaj executed all the 9 principles of bhakti. King Ambarish, first of all, concentrated his mind on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, and then he engaged his speech in describing the pastimes and activities of the Lord. He engaged his hands in washing the temple of the Lord. He engaged his ears in hearing of the transcendental glories of the Lord. He engaged his eyes in seeing the beautiful deity in the temple. He engaged his body in associating with the pure devotees of the Lord. So, Ambarish Maharaj is an example of an all-round devotee. He executed all the 9 processes of bhakti. And what is the result? Krishna became so attracted to Ambarish Maharaj. It is said that because of Ambarish Maharaj's devotional service, Krishna actually donated his very powerful weapon. What is Krishna's powerful weapon? Anybody?
The Sudarshan Chakra.
Yes, the Sudarshan Chakra is Krishna's greatest weapon. So it is said that because Ambarish Maharaj had demonstrated his love towards the Supreme Lord by executing all these 9 processes very nicely, Krishna donated his Sudarshan Chakra to Ambarish Maharaj. And that is why when Durvasa Muni became envious of Ambarish Maharaj and wanted to kill him, wanted to demonstrate his yogic powers, and he created a big demon from his hair to kill Ambarish Maharaj. That's the Sudarshan Chakra, which was donated to Ambarish Maharaj, and which is always protecting Ambarish Maharaj, immediately chop off the head of the demon created by Durvasa Muni. And now the Sudarshan Chakra now start moving towards Durvasa Muni. After it has killed the demon he has created, the Sudarshan Chakra now started going towards Durvasa Muni. And Durvasa Muni understood there's danger. So he began to run. And the Sudarshan Chakra followed him. Of course, the Sudarshan Chakra could have killed him in no time, but he wanted to teach him a lesson. So the Sudarshan Chakra did not kill him. He just kept close to his back, and the Sudarshan Chakra produced such heat that as Durvasa Muni was feeling he was in fire. And wherever he ran to, the Sudarshan Chakra is following him. He went to Lord Brahma. Brahma said, sorry, I can't help you. He went to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva said, sorry, I can't help you. Everywhere he went, everybody said, take your trouble, go. We didn't send you there to go and create the trouble. So finally, he arrived at the doorsteps of Vishnu. Now, my dear Vishnu, please save me. I've gone everywhere in the universe. Nobody can help me. Please do something. And Vishnu says, sorry, I don't have the power to call the Sudarshan Chakra to stop following you. I've already donated it to my devotee Ambarish Maharaj. Unless you go back to Ambarish Maharaj and beg for his forgiveness. Only Ambarish Maharaj has the strength, he has the power to stop the Sudarshan Chakra from following you. So better go back to where you are coming from. So with a speed of mind, Durvasa Muni, he appeared before Ambarish Maharaj and he fell at the feet of Ambarish Maharaj, offering prayers. Please forgive me. Please, I'm very sinful. Please, I'm a rascal. Forgive me. And Ambarish Maharaj, a devotee, is very kind. Immediately he picked up Durvasa Muni and embraced him. And as soon as Ambarish Maharaj embraced Durvasa Muni, the Sudarshan Chakra went away. It means he has forgiven him. So immediately the Sudarshan Chakra disappeared. So how is it possible for Krishna to donate his Sudarshan Chakra to Ambarish Maharaj? Because Ambarish Maharaj executed these 9 processes of bhakti completely. He executed them so nicely that he won over the Lord. And the Lord, in reciprocation, donated his Sudarshan Chakra. So this is just to show that when we devote our lives to Krishna 100%, there is no loss. Krishna will reciprocate with us in such a very wonderful way. So even if one executes one of these 9 angas, if he executes it perfectly, nicely, seriously, we can win Krishna's favor. What to speak of? And we can execute all the 9 processes very nicely. We would enter into the category of Ambarish Maharaj, and Krishna would do something very wonderful in reciprocation of our devotional service. Somebody can read this?
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, go on.
Okay, Prabhu.
Yeah, go on.
Okay, Prabhu. Spontaneous dealings of the residents of Vrindavan. Spontaneous dealings of the residents of Vrindavan. The spontaneous dealings of the residents of Vrindavan in relationship with Krishna are called Raganuga.
Yeah.
These beings don't have to learn anything about devotional service. They are already perfect in all regulative principles and have achieved the spontaneous loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For example, the cowherd boys who are playing with Krishna do not have to learn by austerities or penances or yogic practice how to play with him. They have passed all tests of regulative principles in their previous lives. And as a result, they are now elevated to the position of direct association with Krishna as his dear friends. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we have finished with chapter 14. We are in chapter 15 now. And chapter 15 is dealing with spontaneous bhakti. You know, bhakti has 2 aspects. One aspect is called sadhana bhakti, and the other aspect is called raganuga bhakti. Sadhana bhakti is what we are practicing. We have no taste for the practice, but because the spiritual master has ordered us to chant 16 rounds, rise up in the morning, to perform devotional activities, to preach. So on the order of the spiritual master, we are doing these things. This is called sadhana bhakti. We have no taste, but on the order of the superior, on the order of the spiritual master, we are executing the process of bhakti. Now, Even the sadhana bhakti is divided into two sections also. There is the Vaidhi sadhana and Raganuga sadhana. So as we practice the Vaidhi sadhana, accepting the order of the spiritual master, we develop attachment to the process. So much so that we cannot stop practicing. So naturally, we want to rise up early in the morning. Naturally, we want to chant our 16 rounds. Naturally, we want to take Krishna Prashadam. Naturally, we want to preach. Naturally, we want to hear. Naturally, we want to do the activities in Krishna consciousness. This is described as Raganuga or Sadhana Raganuga. It's still sadhana, but we have developed some little taste, some little attachment to the practice. And therefore, nobody, whether we have somebody watching us or nobody is watching us, we have attachment for them and we execute them without any supervision. But in the beginning of bhakti, we need supervision. Somebody has to make sure. Now we chant our rounds every day. Somebody has to make sure. Now we are hearing every day. Somebody has to make sure that we are preaching every day. Somebody has to make sure that we are rendering some service every day. Actually, that is the temple life. Temple life is meant for training devotees how to execute these 9 processes. And so as we execute these processes under the order of the superior authority, our temple authorities who are acting on behalf of the spiritual master, then we develop some attachment to these things. We like to chant, we like to hear, we like to serve, we like to do things for Krishna, even without somebody standing behind us. This is called Raganuga Sadhana. We have Vaidhi Sadhana and Raganuga Sadhana. So from this Raganuga Sadhana, if one pursues the process more seriously, then he comes to a level of Raganuga. That is spontaneous love for Krishna, spontaneous inclination towards the Supreme Lord. And so, for the cowhead boys and cowhead girls, they do not have to go through this process of Vaidhi Sadhana, Raganuga Sadhana, and then they come to the Raganuga platform. No. That's why I said here, for the cowhead boys who are playing with Krishna, do not have to learn by austerities or penances or yogi practice how to play with him. They have passed all tests of regulatory principles in their previous lives, and as a result, they are now elevated to the position of direct association with Krishna as his friends. So we can see that practicing sadhana bhakti, first from the Vaidhi platform, will take us to the Raganuga platform. And if we intensify our practice, it will take us to the platform of Raganuga. From Vaidhi sadhana to Raganuga sadhana to pure Raganuga. Then when one comes to the Raganuga platform, one can actually become an associate of Krishna. One can play with Krishna. One can wrestle with Krishna. One can even take food from Krishna's mouth and eat. That is the power of Raganuga Bhakti. So, Rupa Goswami has given us this nectar of devotion so that we can understand the intricacies of Bhakti. And by knowing this, we can increase our devotion. We can increase our practice. We can take the process much more seriously. See, when we have knowledge in doing something, we do it more faithfully. When we have no knowledge and we are just groping the darkness, we can easily be deceived. We can easily be diverted. We can easily be influenced not to follow. So by studying Bhakti Shastri, and particularly the nectar of devotion, it is meant to give us that guide, how we can become akinchana bhaktas. We can become committed devotees, pure devotees of Krishna. And then Krishna becomes subservient. Krishna is ready to interact with the devotees. based on their devotion, based on their surrender, based on their purity, based on their love. So bhakti, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the nectar of devotion, is giving us a very systematic process by which we can practice all this. So we go to the next slide. Somebody want to read this?
Yes. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Raganuga Bhakti divided into two categories. Srila Rupa Goswami has defined Raganuga Bhakti as spontaneous attraction for something while completely absorbed in thoughts of it, with an intense desire of love. Devotional service executed with such feelings of spontaneous love is called Raganuga Bhakti. Devotional service under the heading of Raganuga can be further divided into two categories. One category is called sensual attraction, and the other is called relationship. Nectar of Devotion, chapter 15.
Yeah. So when we come to the platform of Raganuga, there is some categorization. There is some divisions. There is what is described here as sensual attraction, and the other is based on relationships. So what do we mean by sensual attraction? When the living entity, when the soul seem to be enjoying Krishna's association, or seem to be wanting to enjoy Krishna's association, that is described as sensual. Like the case of the gopis. Sometimes we say the gopis, that their relationship with Krishna is sensual, is out of lusty desires. But that so-called lusty desires is not just lusty desires in a mundane sense. It is the desire of the devotee to be intimate with Krishna, to relish Krishna's association. And because of that, it is described as sensual or described as lusty. There is no relationship with Krishna which is lusty or mundane. No, there is nothing mundane in dealing with Krishna, because Krishna is all pure. Even if one has a lusty desire, his desire becomes purified. Like the case of Kubja. Kubja has some little lust. When he saw the beauty of Krishna, he invited Krishna to his house so that he can enjoy with Krishna. But just by seeing Krishna, immediately she became purified. So when Krishna eventually went to Kubja's house, he was simply rendering service to Krishna. That lusty approach, that lusty desire had evaporated because he had come in touch with Krishna, he had seen Krishna, he had heard Krishna, and just by that contact, his lusty desires were gone. So what is described as sensual attraction simply means when the devotee wants to enjoy Krishna's association, even though it is spiritual, but it is described as sensual. But when a devotee wants to serve Krishna out of genuine relationship, he wants to serve Krishna just because he wants to establish a relationship with Krishna, that is described as relationship. Let's look at the next slide. Becoming attracted to the personality of Godhead for purposes of sense gratification. So let's see. This may throw more light on what we are trying to understand. Narada Muni told Yudhishthira Maharaj, my dear king, there are many devotees who first become attracted to the personality of Godhead for purposes of sense gratification, from being envious of him, out of fear of him, or from desiring to associate affectionately with him. Ultimately, these attractions become freed from all material contamination, and gradually the worshipper develops spiritual love and achieves that ultimate goal of life desired by the pure devotee. So you see, if a devotee is approaching Krishna for the purpose of sense gratification, or out of envy, or out of fear, or whatsoever, they are described as sensual. But in no time, these tendencies, they evaporate, because Krishna is the purest of the pure. Krishna absorbs any impurity in no time and frees the living entity from that impurity. So therefore, and the worshiper gradually becomes freed from that initial desire of lust, of envy, of fear. What has happened? Somebody has touched the host. They have so by associating with Krishna, whatever desires we have, whether it's out of sense gratification, out of envy, out of fear, those desires, they evaporate, because Krishna is supremely pure. It's like the sun. The sun dries up dirty places. The sun evaporates water from dirty places, purifies dirty places, but the sun is never contaminated. So in the same way, Krishna can purify the entire creation. Apapa vidam. Krishna described the nectar in the Ishopanishad as apapa vidam. Apapa vidam means he can nullify any sin. He can purify any sin. He can absorb any sin without being contaminated. So if a devotee has some tinge of material desire, or some tinge of fear, or some tinge of envy, he approaches the Supreme Lord. The Lord absorbs it and purifies the devotee. So if we approach the Lord with the desire for enjoyment, a desire for some envy or some fear, these are described as sensual, but they would easily be purified by coming close to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and one can become a pure devotee. The gopis love an example of spontaneous love and sensual attraction. So there's still further explanation here. The gopis may be considered to be examples of spontaneous love and sensual attraction. The gopis are young girls and Krishna is a young boy. Superficially, it seems that the gopis are attracted to Krishna on grounds of sex. Similarly, King Kamsa was attracted to Krishna because of fear. Kamsa was always fearful of Krishna because it had been foretold that his sister's son, Krishna, would kill him. Shishupal was also always envious of Krishna. And the descendants of King Yadu, due to their family relationship with Krishna, were always thinking of him as one of their members. All of these different kinds of devotees have a spontaneous attraction for Krishna in different categories, and they achieve the same desired goal of life. So these are examples of devotees who are considered sensual. But it doesn't matter from where you are coming. It doesn't matter your state of consciousness. If you come close to Krishna, Krishna is so powerful that he will nullify the impurity. He will purify the devotee and make him a pure devotee. That is the power of the association of Krishna. Here, although the focus is on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is still a distinction between these two classes of souls. There may be some difficulty in understanding that both the gopis and Kamsa achieve the same goal. So this point should be clearly understood, because the attitudes of Kamsa and Sisupal were different from that of the gopis. Although in all these cases, the focus is on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all the devotees are elevated to the spiritual world, there is still a distinction between these two classes of souls. So you see, it's interesting that Kamsa and Sisupal, they were afraid of Krishna, and Kamsa was afraid of Krishna, and Sisupal was envious of Krishna, but still, they also achieved the spiritual kingdom. So one may be wondering, how is it possible that the gopis, they were having such intense love for Krishna, they attained the spiritual sky, and Kamsa and Sisupal, they were envious of Krishna, they were afraid of Krishna, and they also achieved the spiritual sky. So that is what this statement is about to clarify. So although in all these cases, the focus is on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all the devotees are elevated to the spiritual world, there is still a distinction between these two classes of souls. So what is the distinction? The distinction is mentioned here. Devotees are allowed to enter the spiritual planets to enjoy blissful association with the Supreme Lord, while the demons, they do not get a chance to enter the spiritual planets. They are limited to the Brahmajyoti. So here it says, that spiritual sky is far beyond the material sky. And it is confirmed also in Bhagavad Gita that beyond this material sky, there is another eternal sky. The enemies and the impersonalists may be allowed into this Brahman effulgence, but the devotees of Krishna are promoted all the way to the spiritual planets. Because the pure devotees have developed their spontaneous love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are allowed to enter into the spiritual planets to enjoy spiritual bliss in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So can we make out the difference here? What can we say in this regard, regarding those who are so the goal is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But some people approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead out of envy, out of fear. And some approach the Supreme Lord out of love. So from this slide, can we differentiate between those who approach the Supreme Lord out of fear and envy, and those who approach the Supreme Lord out of love? Can we differentiate the destinations?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Yes, I would like to try.
Okay, try.
Yes, I think in the Sri Upanishad, uh, we read a little about the Brahmajyoti,
Okay.
and in the purport of Srila Prabhupada, he says that when someone goes to the Brahmajyoti, it's just a matter of time. They will take birth again in the material world. But when a devotee goes to Goloka Vrindavan, it is eternal. There is
That's right.
no question of return.
That's
Hare
right.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Gaura Shakti Prabhu, you want to add something?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah.
No, it was just to answer the question you asked
Yeah.
in terms
So
of
I'm
the
saying you have
envy.
something different. You have something different from Stephen.
Yeah, but not totally different, but it is to make a point about their destination, the
Okay.
devotees of the Lord,
Yeah.
and those who are envious. Yes, both of them are promoted, but it is the difference is in the places.
That's
The
right.
devotees of Krishna who are not envious, they go directly to the spiritual sky.
Yeah.
But the envious people and those who fear Krishna, so their limit is Brahmajyoti.
That's
They don't
right.
go up to the spiritual sky. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Hare Krishna. Thank you. That's very good. One of you gave very good answers. That those who approach Krishna out of envy, out of fear, out of all these material circumstances, and Krishna kills them because Krishna has touched them, they get a chance to enter the spiritual sky. But because they have no devotion, they have no relationship, they are not allowed onto the planets where the Lord is interacting with his devotees. So they are only limited to the Brahmajyoti. But in the Brahmajyoti, there is no shelter. There's no shelter in the Brahmajyoti because there is no activity in the Brahmajyoti. But a living entity always wants to engage in activity. You see, either spiritual activity or material activity. The living entity cannot be idle. We want to engage in activity. We want to sing. We want to dance. We want to eat. We want to relate to people. We want to do many things. In the Brahmajyoti, this is not available. It is only available on the spiritual planet where you can interact with Krishna. So even though these demons are killed, and because Krishna has touched them, they enter into the Brahmajyoti, but that is not actually liberation. It can be described as punishment because they will fall down again and accept material bodies. So they are just released for a temporary, because Krishna has touched them, they get a chance to enter into the Brahmajyoti. But because they have not taken shelter of Krishna, they will come back and accept material life. But for a devotee, because he has developed his pure love for Krishna, he has developed his affection for Krishna, he becomes qualified to actually take shelter of the planets in the spiritual world. And there he can enjoy the association, a spiritual blissful association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is the difference. That even though the goal is Krishna, the goal is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the destinations are different. Somebody like to read this?
I guess, Maharaj.
Yeah, go ahead, Mataji.
The gopis' method of worshipping the Lord as if implied by lusty desires, praised by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Great devotees up to the standard of Uddhava are very dear friends of the Lord, and they desire to follow in the footsteps of the gopis. So the gopis' love for Krishna is certainly not material lusty desires, Otherwise, how could Uddhava aspire to follow in their footsteps? Other instance is Lord Chaitanya himself. After accepting the sannyas order of life, he was very, very strict about avoiding association with women. But still, he taught that there is no better method of worshipping Krishna than that conceived by the gopis. Thus, the gopis' method of worshipping the Lord, as if impelled by lusty desire, was praised very highly, even by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nectar of Devotion, chapter 15. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So, yeah, the gopis are considered the topmost worshippers of the Supreme Lord. And their method of worship is described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the best. And here is mentioned that even though Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he took his sannyas at a young age, 24 years old, he was very strict with women association. Yet, he did not hesitate to praise the gopis, to highlight the method of worship of the gopis as the best. So how can we describe this as lusty? The word lusty is from the perception of the material world. From Krishna's perception, he sees the gopis as the topmost. And as we have heard the story, Krishna one time wanted to demonstrate how dear the gopis are to him and how dear he is to the gopis. Krishna feigned sickness. Krishna feigned headache. Krishna pretended to be sick. And Narada Muni came around. And Krishna told Narada Muni, I'm having a headache. Narada Muni said, so how do we solve this problem headache? And Krishna said, the headache can only be cured if I can get the dust from the feet of my devotees. The dust from the lotus feet of my devotees can cure my headache. So Narada, please, if you can fetch me the dust of the lotus feet of the devotees, that is the medicine I need. Of course, Narada himself, he's a devotee, but he did not give Krishna the dust from his feet. He was afraid to do that. So he went approaching different devotees. And they said, Narada, what are you talking about? We should give the dust of our feet to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No, we won't do that. It is sinful. It is not allowed. We can't do it. So Narada came back to Krishna and said, my dear Krishna, none of your devotees is ready to give the dust of their feet. So this is your headache. We don't know how we're going to solve it. And Krishna said, all right, you go to the gopis. Since all the devotees are refusing to give the dust, go to the gopis. So Narada Muni went to the gopis. And then when the gopis saw Narada, they said, oh, Narada, you're here. Any news about Krishna? Can you tell us something about Krishna? I said, Krishna is sick. He's sick. He has headache, severe headache. And the medicine is he needs the dust of his devotees to cure the headache. Oh, immediately, the gopis, they started shaking their legs and gathering the dust and said, take it, take it. If that will cure Krishna's headache, take it for him. And Narada said, you people are not afraid? Do you know what it means to give your dust to the Supreme Personality of Godhead? You're not afraid of going to hell? And the gopi said, Narada, what is the use of our lives if we cannot relieve Krishna of his headache? It doesn't matter if we go to hell. It doesn't matter where we go. There is no place for us to go. But the first duty for us is to make sure that Krishna is relieved from his headache. So take it. The consequences, damn the consequences. We don't care. All that we care for is that Krishna should be relieved of his headache. So Narada was shocked. Narada was actually he was surprised that the gopis could go to that extent. And therefore, when he went back to Krishna, Krishna said, Narada, now you can establish for yourself who are my topmost devotees. They are the gopis. The same thing when Uddhava was feeling very proud. You know, Uddhava was the number one assistant to Krishna, the number one associate to Krishna in Dwaraka. Uddhava was the prime minister. He was the chief minister. And Krishna will always consult with Uddhava, any decision he takes. So at some point, Uddhava was thinking, I'm the most important devotee. So Krishna said, all right, you go take this message. Go to Vrindavan and deliver my message to the gopis. So Uddhava went. When he went to Vrindavan and he witnessed how the gopis were crying in the absence of Krishna, how the gopis were lamenting in the absence of Krishna, how the gopis were thinking of Krishna 24 hours, then Uddhava realized that his devotional service is nowhere near the gopis. He saw that the gopis were far, far superior to him. Their devotional service was so exalted. So what did Uddhava do? Uddhava decided to become a grass in Vrindavan so that the gopis can step on him and place the dust of their lotus feet on his head. So even till now, Uddhava is still in Vrindavan as a blade of grass. There's a place called Uddhava Charita. It is said that if you know the mantra to chant, if you know the process, you can bring Uddhava back to life. He can manifest physically and bless you. So the gopis are the topmost worshippers of Krishna, even though from a material point of view, we may say they are sensual, they are lusty, we may describe them in all kinds of words, but their devotion, their method of worship is the topmost. And Lord Chaitanya himself, who is not different from Krishna, he is giving a certification that yes, the gopis are the topmost devotees and they're the best worshippers. So who wants to read this?
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Krishna, go ahead.
Okay,
Transcendental
Prabhu,
feelings
please
of
go
love
ahead.
for
Yes.
Krishna in parental relationship. In the attitude of the denizens of Vrindavan, such as Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda, is to be found the ideal transcendental concept of being the father and mother of Krishna, the original personality of Godhead. Factually, no one can become the father or mother of Krishna, but a devotee's possession of such transcendental feelings is called love of Krishna in a parental relationship. The Vishnis, Krishna's relatives at Dwaraka, also felt like that. So spontaneous love for Krishna in the parental relationship is found both among those denizens of Dwaraka who belong to the dynasty of Vrishni and among the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Nectar of Devotion, chapter 16. But Maharaj, please,
Yeah.
if you allow me to ask some question.
Yes, go ahead.
On 15. So for the questions they ask us to answer, so number 47 is Ragatmika. To define what is Ragatmika in chapter 15, but okay, when I read the book, I couldn't find Ragatmika. So I was expecting to get something from the course. But okay, we are finished with chapter 15, but I've not heard about Ragatmika Bhakti. So I would like to know something.
Ragatmika is the same thing as Raganunga.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ragamika. It means topmost devotees of the Lord, topmost servants of the Lord.
Thank you.
Yeah. So there's no difference between Ragamika and Raganuga. They are
Thank
all
you very much.
they are all Akinchana Bhaktas. They are all pure devotees. Let me just check something here. Raga Marga 18, 9, 10, 18, 10. Let me just check something. 18, 9, and 10. I'm not getting. There is another book that written by I think you just have to accept that the meaning of Ragamika means Raganuga, because it says Raganuga can be executed externally and internally. Or we can say Ragamika Bhakti is those perfected devotees, those who are perfected in conjugal, in those who are perfected in Raganuga Bhakti. We mentioned that there is Raganuga sadhana and there's Raganuga. So those who have attained perfection from performing Raganuga Bhakti, they can be described as Ragamika, Ragamika. So the word Raganuga, Ragamika has the same meaning, but the Ragamika may refer to those who have attained perfection, those who are perfectly situated in the service, like the devotees in Vrindavan. They are described as Ragamika Bhaktas. I'm trying to find some reference, but I'm not getting. But after the class, I will look it up. I'll look it up and get a shastric definition of this Ragamika, and I would put it on the platform for your consumption. So that we can move on. I'm trying to do a research now, but I'm not getting. So I will give you the exact definition of Ragamika, but my understanding is there is no difference essentially between Raganuga and Ragamika. Raganuga and Ragamika refers to the spontaneous devotees of the Lord. Now, Ragamika may mean those who have actually become perfect, and only those they associate with Krishna. Even if one attains perfection, one still need to associate with the perfect devotees in Vrindavan, perfect devotees who are in the association of Krishna, to perfect his devotional service. So it's often said that if you attain perfection in this life, when you leave your body, you'll be transferred to the universe where Krishna is performing his pastimes in the association of his Ragamika devotees, pure devotees. And then, even though you have attained Raganuga, but now you are going to practice among the associates of Krishna your particular service. And when Krishna finishes that pastime in the universe and is going back home, back to the spiritual world, then that soul now becomes eligible to go back home, back to Godhead. So we may say the Ragamika are those who are perfected in their spontaneous love for Krishna. But there is no difference actually between Raganuga and Ragamika. Okay? So I think we're on this slide, transcendental feelings of love for Krishna and parental relationship. The attitude of the denizens of Vrindavan, such as Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda, is to be found the ideal transcendental concept of being father and mother of Krishna, the original personality of Godhead. Factually, no one can become the father or mother of Krishna, but a devotee's possession of such transcendental feelings is called love of Krishna and parental relationship. The Vrishnis, Krishna's relatives at Dwaraka, also felt like that. So spontaneous love of Krishna in the parental relationship is found both among those denizens of Dwaraka who belong to the dynasty of Vrishnis and among the inhabitants of Vrindavan. So, who can become the father or mother of God? God is the original father. Aham Bija Pradhan. God is the original father of everyone. Everyone. God is the original father. So how can he become the son of somebody else? But when a devotee is desiring to have the Lord as his son, when a devotee is desiring such relationship of Vasalya, it's called Vasalya Ras. If a devotee is desiring Vasalya Ras, then Krishna, in order to reciprocate with such a devotee, he accepts that relationship with that devotee, and therefore he becomes a child of such a devotee. So that does not actually mean that Krishna has given up his position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna still maintains his position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but just to satisfy that devotee, Krishna accepts to become his son. Like in the case of Yashoda. Krishna accepts to be Yashoda's son, dear son, Yasoda Nandana, Nanda Nandana. But that does not take away the godhood or the supremacy of Krishna from him. Even as a child, Krishna's supremacy remains. At any stage, the godhood of Krishna remains. So we can understand that Krishna simply wants to reciprocate with the devotees who want to act as his parents. So it's a loving relation. Is a reciprocal relationship. And of course, it is often said that if there are no such relationships in the spiritual world, how can there be such relationships in the material world? Because everything that we experience in the material world is simply a perverted reflection of the spiritual activities. So because there is a transcendental relationship between the Lord and his devotees as parents, as conjugal lovers, as friends, as servants, in neutrality. Therefore, these very relationships are also manifested in the material world, but in a very perverted manner. So, any devotee desiring to have a particular relationship with Krishna, Krishna allows it. Krishna accepts it. And so, those devotees who desired to be Krishna's parents, Krishna accepts their love in parenthood. So that should be understood. Somebody can read this. Anybody wants to read this?
Hare Krishna.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. Please go ahead, Prabhu.
Okay. Raganuga, devotees do not follow the regulatory principle of devotional service very strictly. Person desiring to follow the footsteps of such internal Vrindavan business are called Raganuga devotees, which means that they are trying to attain to the perfection of those devotees. These Raganuga devotees do not follow the regulative principle of devotional service very strictly, but by their spontaneous nature, they become attracted to the theme of the internal devotees, such as Nanda and Yasoda, and they try to follow in their footsteps spontaneously. There is gradual development of the ambition to become like a particular devotee, and this activity is called Raganuga, Nectar of Devotion, chapter 16. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So, Raganuga devotees do not follow the regulatory principles in devotional service very strictly. In other words, when one becomes a Raganuga devotee, when one becomes a Raganuga devotee, it means he has already surpassed the platform of sadhana, whether it's Vaidhi sadhana or Raganuga sadhana. So, because he's already on the spontaneous platform, somebody on the spontaneous platform does not require to follow the rules and regulations like somebody who is practicing sadhana bhakti, because he's already experiencing Krishna. He's experiencing the spiritual world. He's experiencing the transcendental relationship with Krishna. So he doesn't really need to practice the angas of sadhana in order to get Krishna. He's already having Krishna. So that's why they said here, they don't follow the principle of devotional service very strictly. Like somebody who is practicing sadhana bhakti. A sadhana bhakti person must chant 16 rounds every day without fail. He must hear without fail. He must do certain things without fail in order to make progress on the path of sadhana. But when one attains Raganuga, he's already relishing those activities. Even if he doesn't chant physically, but he is relishing the chanting in his mind. If he doesn't hear physically, but he is relishing the hearing in his mind. So because he's experiencing spontaneous relationship with Krishna, he doesn't need to behave like a sadhana bhakta or a vaidhi bhakta. So therefore, a sadhana bhakta should not imitate that of a Raganuga bhakta. Because the Raganuga bhakta, his mind is already surcharged with the remembrance of the Lord, with the glories of the Lord. Even if externally it seems he's not practicing, but internally he is practicing. So there is external practice and there is internal practice. So therefore, one should not imitate. One should remain on his own platform and perform devotional service. Yeah, I think there is something here I can share. Definition of Raganuga Bhakti. This is Vira Jantim Abhivyaktam Vraja Vasi Janadishu Ragamikam Anushrita Yasa Raganu Gochyati. The bhakti that's found distinctively in residence of Raja is called Ragamika Bhakti. Gaur Krishna, are you listening? The bhakti that is found in the residence of Raja is called Ragamika Bhakti. I already mentioned that there is actually no difference between Raganuga and Ragamika. But those who have perfected in the practice of Raganuga may be defined as Ragamika. So therefore, he said the residents of Vrindavan, they are on the platform of Ragamika. Ragamika Bhakti means following their footsteps. And when you follow their footsteps, that is called Raganuga. The Ragamika Bhaktis are the topmost. They are the examples of Bhakti. And when you follow them, that means you want to become like them, you take their example, you take their instructions, then you are described as Raganuga. So there is no difference between Ragamika and Raganuga because the Ragamika are the perfected ones and the Raganuga are those who are trying to follow the Ragamikas. Eternal Rajavasis don't have to learn anything about Bhakti. They are already perfect and have spontaneous loving service attitude for Krishna. For example, the gopis and the gopals, the cowherd boys. So to define Raganuga Bhakti, first of all, we have to talk about Ragamika. So what is Ragamika? Iste Saraswatika Raga Paramamastita Bhavat Tanmayan Bhavat Bhaktir Satra Raga Mikodita. Raga is defined as natural, intense, and spontaneous attraction for the object of love. Raga. Raga is defined as a natural, intense, and spontaneous attraction towards the object of love. Bhakti exclusively impelled by such attraction is called Ragamika. Bhakti exclusively impelled by such attraction is called Ragamika. Raga is defined as a natural, intense, and spontaneous attraction towards the object of love, which is Krishna. And that exclusive bhakti is called Ragamika Bhakti. So Ragamika Bhakti means exclusive love for Krishna. Exclusive love for Krishna. And only the residents of Vrindavan, the Brijabasis, they have that exclusive love for Krishna. That deep test causes causes absorption. The cause is considered non-different from the effect. The love-filled desire or test or actions inspired by it, such as stringing garlands for Krishna, which generates complete absorption in the object of love, is called Ragamika. So Ragamika can also be divided into two. Kama Rupa, impelled by conjugal feelings, and then Sambandha Rupa, impelled by other relationships. So Ragamika is divided into two, Kama Rupa and Sambandha Rupa. Kama Rupa is conjugal feelings, impelled by conjugal feelings, like the gopis. That is a Kama Rupa. The gopis are practicing Kama Rupa, which is Ragamika, based on conjugal relationship with Krishna. And then we have Sambandha Rupa, which is the other relationships, like Dasya Ras, Sakya Ras, Vasalya Ras. These are also other relationships. They are impelled by other relationships. Somebody has a desire to serve Krishna as an assistant, as Yashoda used to have a lot of cowhead boys who serve Krishna. They dress Krishna, they bathe Krishna, they bring Krishna's food, they fund Krishna. These are based on Dasya. And Balaram is serve Krishna as a senior brother, that is Vasalya. And then Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, they serve Krishna as parents. That is Vasalya. Balaram serves Krishna in all the five relationships. But Nanda and Yashoda serve Krishna in Vasalya. So these are described as Sambandha Rupa. So Ragamika, we are two forms: Kama Rupa, impelled by conjugal feelings, and Sambandha Rupa, impelled by other relationships. Does that clarify your answer or your question?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay.
It's clear now. Thank you very much, Maharaj.
All right. Yeah, because to answer the question, I have to do some research.
Yes. Thanks a lot, Maharaj.
Okay. So our time is up. It's already 9:15 Ghana time, 9:05, 9:06 Ghana time, 11:06 Johannesburg time, and 10:06 Nigerian time. So maybe I can read two more so that we end somewhere. Let's see, text 2020 says, remembering an eternal devotee of Vrindavan in order to love Krishna in the same capacity. When one is actually liberated from material contamination, he can always remember an eternal devotee in Vrindavan in order to love Krishna in the same capacity. And developing such an aptitude, one will always live in Vrindavan, even within his mind. The purport is that if it is possible, one should go and physically be present at Brajabhumi, Vrindavan, and be engaged always in the service of the Lord, following the devotees in Vrajadham, the spiritual realm of Vraja. If it is not possible, however, to be physically present at Vrindavan, one can meditate anywhere on living in that situation. So the recommendation is we must follow the example of one of the perfected devotees in Vrindavan. Even the Nectar of Instruction also recommends that. I think in the 11th verse or so, or the 10th verse, that one has to select a perfected devotee in Vrindavan and follow his example. So if one can live in Vrindavan in order to follow that example, that is recommended. But if one cannot live in Vrindavan, then we have to do a mental following. In other words, you identify one great devotee of the Lord in Vrindavan, you read more about him, study more about him, know more about him, and then you try to follow his example. If one is not able to be present physically in Vrindavan, but one must identify a great devotee, a perfected devotee, and follow in the footsteps of such a devotee. 21 says, an advanced devotee should not display his bhava externally, even though he has attained perfection. A devotee who is actually advanced in Krishna consciousness, who is constantly engaged in devotional service, should not manifest himself, even though he has attained perfection. The idea is that he should always continue to act as a neophyte devotee as long as his material body is there. Activities in devotional service under regulatory principles must be followed even by the pure devotees. But when he realizes his actual position in relationship with the Lord, he can, along with the discharging of regulatory service, think within himself of the Lord under the guidance of a particular associate of the Lord and develop his transcendental sentiments in following that associate. So here, the warning is one should not display his advancement. And the scripture says that one should not display his wealth, just as you don't put your valuable things on the street. You cannot put your diamonds and gold on the street, then thieves will take it. So similarly, one should not display his spiritual, those expensive spiritual items. One should not display them. In fact, some scriptures say one should not reveal the mantra he's chanting. One should not reveal his spiritual master. One should not reveal his advancement. So there are some scriptures that recommend like that the mantra you are chanting should never be shared with anybody. And maybe that refers to the private mantras the Guru might give, like the Brahman mantra and some other mantras. Because the Maha mantra is an open mantra for everybody. And then, but it is said here that one should not display his level of advancement to the public. It is not recommended. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was described as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, anytime he was addressed as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he would block his ears. Even when Ramananda Rai, when he revealed his Radha and Krishna form to Ramananda Rai after their 10 days of discussion in South India, and Ramananda Rai wanted to speak about Lord Chaitanya covered his mouth. He should not speak about it. So in other words, a devotee should not display his level of advancement. it should be concealed. And so here it says, a devotee who is actually advanced in Krishna consciousness, who is constantly engaged in devotional service, should not manifest himself. It's very, in India, you find people displaying their advancement. They're crying, they're rolling on the ground. Mahaprabhu never did that. Srila Prabhupada never did that. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta never did that. Srila Bhakti Vinod never did that. Our spiritual masters, they never did that. So therefore, one has to conceal. It's like your wealth, and you don't expose your wealth to the public. So that is what this slide is telling us. We still have a number of slides for chapter 16, but time is fast spent. So I think we'll reserve it for next week. We still have a number of slides. But my desire is that next week we should finish this unit. So let's see. Probably we may have to increase the time. Maybe we have to do it for 2.5 hours next week for the 2 days, Saturday, Sunday, so that we can complete this unit. So today we are ending on 22, I think 222 or 221. Yeah, we are finishing on 221. So next week we begin from 222. Any comments or questions? Otherwise, we would end the class here. But we should be prepared to go for 2.5 hours next week, both Saturday and Sunday, so that we can complete the unit. I will try, so we complete it.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, it is. Can I call it a comment? Okay. Concerning what you have just said, that we should not reveal our advancements.
Yes.
It is something very meaningful to me because, okay, sometime when I discuss with other devotees, I tell them that it happens that I have some instructions from in the dream from my Maharaj. Normally, my Guru, normally it is something I should not say.
Yeah.
If I understand what you say, because sometimes in dreams I see my Guru give me instructions.
Yeah.
I think is it a sign of advancement or?
Well, if the Guru gives you instructions in a dream, is possible. You see, when we are asleep, the physical barrier is minimized. When we are awake, there are a lot of barriers. The physical being does not allow us to receive spiritual information. So in a dream state, when the body is asleep, the physical body is asleep, you operate on the subtle platform, mind, intelligence, and ego. And so at that time, the spiritual master can penetrate and give instruction. Now, if he gives this instruction and gives you the order that you can share with others, you can do so. But if he does not give you the order to share with others, you don't need. Unless, of course, there is a need. Sometimes people may challenge, why are you doing this and why are you doing that? Because you have received such private instructions from the spiritual master. Then you may have to explain to some degree why you are doing it. But sometimes the Guru gives us instructions, they are personal instructions, and so we don't share with anybody. And sometimes he may also give us instructions and give us the authority that you can share with others for the benefit of others. So it depends on how the Guru gives us his instruction. If he says share, then you share. But if he says don't share, or he doesn't even give a specific instruction, then you have to be very careful. If you discuss everything you dream about your Guru with people, then people will think you are trying to show off. You are trying to prove that you are very advanced. So it's better not to even discuss with people the dreams you have involving a Guru, unless, of course, as I said, the Guru says this instruction is for the benefit of the general devotees. Then you can discuss it. But whatever you dream, those are like personal instructions that the Guru wants to give you. Unless, of course, you also dream about another devotee and the Guru gives you instruction to give to that devotee, then also you can also do like that. So it depends how the information is given, why the information is given, the purpose for which the information is given. Thank you. Thank you very much. Jai, Vanja Kalpataru Biascha, Kripas Nubia, Vacha, Paritanam Pavinibio Vaishnav Bio Namo Namaha. Jai, Shla Prabhupada Ki, Jai. Now we see everybody on Saturday, and we hope we can finish this unit next weekend. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. His Holiness Bhakti Shrivas Vanachari Ki.
Shla Prabhupada Ki, Jai, Shla Prabhupada Ki, Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.